Boker or Masechet Nedarim Daf Kavchet Amud Aleph 28a1. If you remember, we started the Mishnah already yesterday on Kav Zayin Bet. We'll do it very, very quickly again. Nodrin la'aragin u'charamin u'mochsin. Right? Basically, if a person is going to come and make a neder, whether it's to somebody that would have killed them, somebody that's going to take away their money, or to people which are of the taxes, right? And all of a sudden you come to one of these people, right? So imagine a thief comes in and you make a neder. No, this is the truma. So now they're not going to touch it because they're not going to start dealing with truma. Understand? Imagine somebody comes in and say this is government property. They don't want that headache. You understand? Somebody actually just told me something incredible that I don't remember who it was. They told me that their car was parked behind another car, which was a government vehicle. And what happened was that a car went and it bashed into it. It was a truck. And then they took off. Since it was a government vehicle, everything was recorded. The woman came out that was working for the government. She was able to take the thing. It was a hit and run. He was able to get everything back for the car. It was like a garbage car and everything. He was able to get everything. What? People don't want to mess with government property. So somebody comes in and you say, I swear, this is government. Now, this is a guy that's a shoded. He could either kill you or they just come and they just take away your money. They're going to steal. So it says here, you come and you say it's truma, even though it's not truma, or it belongs to the king, the government, whatever you want to call it, even though it doesn't belong to the government. Bet Shammai come and he says, now we already said that if you're going to swear on all these things, it's not considered a vow because you were doing it purposely just to get out of the problem. So now another machloket here is going to be, Bet Shammai says, Bakol nodrin, you're allowed to make a neder, chutz miyushua, you're allowed to make a neder, but not a shvuah. So this is this is the starting of 28, right? Bet Hillel says, Af b'shvuah, even in a shvuah, you're allowed to make a shvuah. So first machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, are you allowed to make a shvuah or only a neder? We always learned that a neder is a lower form because of punishments and so on and so forth. So therefore, according to Bet Hillel, you're allowed to make even a shvuah. Next machloket between, right? And obviously we pass like Bet Hillel. Next machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel is lo yiftach lo beneder. Bet Hillel omrim af yiftach lo, which means can you offer to make the vow, or is it only if they force you to make the vow then you're allowed to do it? According to Bet Shammai, only if they force you, meaning they tell you, yeah, I don't believe you, swear. So then now you're allowed to swear. According to Bet Hillel, you could offer to do it. Yeah, you could just come and say, I swear that this is just do it on your own. There's no problem. That's Shitat Bet Shammai, and that's Shitat Bet Hillel, and again we pass like Bet Hillel. Third machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai omrim b'ma shema'u madiro, u'Bet Hillel omrim b'ma she'enu madiro. Third machloket is, can you add on? Meaning, he comes and he told you to swear. Let's even pretend it's like Bet Shammai. He was the one that told you to swear. You didn't offer it. And he told you, and it's not a shivua, it was a neder, whatever it was. You understand? Meaning the mamash, we're going a little bit, but still, he told you only about this. Can you say about this and this? Can you say about two different things, or it's only this what he told you? So Bet Shammai says, "B'mashu madiro." Bet Hillel says, "No, even if he didn't tell you specifically in this, you could come and you could swear on everything. You could add on." Kate said, "What was the case?" Amarlo, he comes and he tells him, "Emor, say, kunam ishti neneli, that your wife will never be able to benefit from you if it's not true that this belongs to whether it's Truma or that it's the Bet HaMelech, the king's property." The Amar, so he comes and he says, "Ishtu banav." He added his children. Yeah, so he comes and he adds his children to the vow. Yeah, so Bet Shammai omrim. Okay, so Bet Shammai says, one second. The wife is permitted because we just had the permit. You're allowed to, but the children are prohibited. Why? He never told you anything to add your children. The fact that you added your children, so your children are now chelek me'isul. Your wife is permitted, but he forced you to make the neder. 100%, you can make the neder, but your children are going to be asurim. And according to Bet Hillel, elu ve'elu mutarin. This was where we finished yesterday with the Mishnah, right? Finishing on Kavchet Amud Aleph. We're now starting with the Gemara. Says the Gemara, the Haman Shmuel. Shmuel comes and he asks the following question: Dina de Malchuta Dina. This, by the way, there's going to be here an incredible ran, a very famous ran. Remember that on the right side of the daf, if you pay attention, on the inside is Rashi. On the outside is usually Tosafot. Right? Here, there's no Tosafot. It's ran. Right? Rabbeinu Nisim. So here you have the ran. So the ran, there's going to be a very famous ran here. Basically, the question is, what was the three cases? It was somebody that comes, that he murders. He's a killer. Right? That's the first one, which is the haragin. Nashon hereg, to kill. Second one, haramin, somebody that takes away money. So he's like a thief. That's why it says charamin like cherem shemachrimim usholim mamon. Number 3, mochasin, tax collectors. So 1 second, ask the Gemara. Shmuel says dina de malchuta dina. What does that mean, dina de malchuta dina? At the end of the day, right, and this is what it says over here, the yesod of the halacha of dina de malchuta dina says the Ran and name Tosafot is that since the entire land belongs to the king, he's allowed to come and get rid of anybody that he wants, and anybody that lives there is able to live there on a certain condition. What's the condition? Right? That you have to pay him taxes. So according to that, it's Davka Malchei Umot Haolam, and it's not in Eretz Yisrael, because Malchei Yisrael Beretz Yisrael Ema Dina de Malchuta Dina. This is the famous, right? This is the famous Ra. So Shmuel comes and he asks, how are you going to come and you're going to cheat out this tax collector? Dina de Malchuta Dina. Answers the Gemara. Amar Rav Chinan, Amar Rav Kana, Amar Shmuel. It says Rav Chinan, Amar Rav Kana, in the name of Shmuel, B'moches she'en lo kitzba, which means that he doesn't have a chok kavua. So therefore, there's no dina de malchuta here. This is called chamsan, which means, right? Which means that basically you could take 1 second, please. Yeah, everyone, can you please listen? Fine, I'm continuing. Yeah, one more time, right? Which basically means that there's no end to what he wants. He likes your face, he'll come and say, you know what, give me $5. He doesn't like your face, give me 2,000. And therefore, since it's not something which is kavua, so therefore there's no din of dina de malchuta dina. Says the Rabbi comes and he says, another answer. The first answer was he was a tax collector and he did come from the Medina and everything that you want, but now there's a different answer. Right? The different answer is he took it into his own hands. Now he became the tax collector of the city. You understand? He became it. Who made you anything? Right? It didn't come. So therefore you're a Gazlan. Fine. Next. The 2 dots, it says, Shehen shel bet hamelech. You come and you swear that it belongs to the king. Even though it doesn't. Hechi nedar. What is the lashon of the neder shem bet hamelech? It's not a neder. Remember, what was a neder? What was a neder? You guys remember what's a neder?
This is forbidden.
Asur or Korban. Chazak Baruch. Yeah, Isur or Korban. To become a neder, you have to say, this is a sur to me, or this is a Korban to me. What is it? This is a Bet HaMelech. It's called a neder. It's not called a neder. So Amar Rav Amram Amar Rav, says Rav Amram in the name of Rav, Be'omer yasru perot ha'olam alai, im enan shel Bet HaMelech. No, you did. You made an Isur. You did do a Belashon Isur. You said, I'm not allowed to eat any of the fruits over there, nothing. No fruits in the world, if this doesn't belong to the king. The neder was not that it belonged to the king, because that's not a neder. You understand? It's al perot haolam le'esorotam. It's on the fruits of the world to prohibit them if this doesn't belong to the king. That's the neder. Because the neder was Rishon Isur. He said everything's going to be asur to me if it doesn't belong to the king. That's the neder. And therefore, obviously, he says here, it's not going to be a neder. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Kevin damar yasru. Right? Once you went and you said that the fruits of the world are going to become asur to you if it's not for the king, and the behemet, it's not of the king, doesn't belong to the king. So it should become asur then. So why do we say that it's not a neder? Says the Gemara, right? Why don't you say it's going to be a neder? He comes and he says, okay, Beomer hayom. You only prohibited for that day. So because it was only for that day, it was actually chal for that day, and then afterwards it's going to be permitted. So says the Gemara, Ida Amar Hayom, lo mekabel mini moches. Well, you think that the moches, the tax collector, he doesn't realize? You come and you say, you know what? All the fruits in the world are going to be permitted to me today if I don't do that. So moches is going to say, oh, okay, this guy's a smart Alex. No, he wants to make some neder, and he's only permitting it today. He's lying through his teeth. And tomorrow, everything's permitted to him. He's not going to accept it. Well, you think the guy's a fool? So answers the Gemara, Beomer belibo hayom, umotzi bisfatav stam. In his heart, you said hayom. But in your mouth, you just said stam. Ve'af al gav desfila. Now, usually we hold the general rule. Devarim shebalev and dvarim. Dvarim, right? Dvarim shebalev enam dvarim. They're nothing. Right? What does that mean? Exactly. You have to be motzi et ze b'peh. Yeah. 100%. Exactly. It has to be lotzi b'sfatav. Dvarim shebalev enam dvarim. What does it mean? Dvarim shebelev emen dvarim. Whatever you say, right, in your heart is nothing. It has to come out of your mouth, right? I come and sometimes they tell you, no, I'm religious. We're in the heart. Same thing. It doesn't help. It has to come out before. It has to actually come out, right? Dvarim shebelev emen dvarim. Legabe onsin chani, but to do with an honest, it's different. That here, even though it was only in your machshava that you wanted to say today, it helps. It helps. Fine. Next, 2 dots.
But why you say that?
Says it. 2 dots. Bet Shammai omrim bakol. You're allowed to make a neder and everything, but not a shavua. Bet Shammai omrim b'meshe umadiro. Bet Hillel omrim afshe no mandiro keitza. What's the case? Amar kulam mishti nene livam kulam mishti ubanai nene imli. Bet Shammai omrim mishto muteret ubanam asurim. Ubet Hillel omrim elovel mutarim. Amar Ravuna says Tana. Bet Shammai omrim we learned lo yiftach lo b'shavua. Ubet Hillel omrim af yiftach lo b'shavua. Can you open up with a shavua or not? Again, we're talking about the shavua. So Bet Hillel says yes. Lebet Shammai, according to Bet Shammai, b'shvua lo yiftach lo, abened yiftach lo. What? That means it's only in shavua you can't be poteach, but everything else you could. But today we already learned in the Mishnah, Bet Shammai omrim lo yiftach lo beneder. You shouldn't start with an neder. Meaning not only just a shavua, even a neder you shouldn't start. Meaning that we thought that according to Bet Shammai, it's a standard statement. Don't open up for him. Don't give him the opportunity to start doing any nidarim. Don't do it on your own. If he obligates you, that's something else. But don't offer, right? But now we're trying to make a differentiation between a neder and shavua. The 2, and furthermore, you can't open up with a shvua. Hameder nadar b'shvua, but you can make a neder, right? Kilu that you could. Bet Shammai omrim bakol nodrim chutz b'shvua. You could do everything except for shvua. So says the Gemara, Tana matznitin beneder. Really, the Mishnah was teaching us the neder. Lo diacha kochod Bet Shammai, to teach us the koach of Bet Shammai that they're not allowed to do it even in a neder. Meaning, not only you shouldn't open up with a shvua, even in a neder, don't offer. That's Shitat Bet Shammai. The Tana Braita b'Shvua, but why did the Braita teach in a Shavua? Right? So he says, Lo diacha kochad Bet Hillel, that to teach you the koach of Bet Hillel, that you're allowed to start even with a Shavua, not only in a neder. Meaning, there are 2 extremes. Bet Shammai comes and says, right? 2 extremes, right? Bet Shammai comes and he says, not only are you allowed to, you're not allowed to offer a Shavua, even a neder you're not allowed to offer. And Bet Hillel is the other extreme, that not only are you allowed to offer a neder, you're allowed to offer even a shavua. So 2 exact extremes. Okay? Rabashi come and Rabashi. Which one? Rashi comes and he says, this is what he means to say, there's no she'ela, which means that a chacham is not going to be matir nedarim, right? Only nedarim, but not shavuot. And that's what it means. Lo yiftach lo is talking about the chacham, right? We thought that yiftach lo, lo yiftach lo was the person offering the neder or the shavua to the thief or to the murderer or to the tax collector. Now he says, no, the word yiftach lo is to the rabbi doing hatarat nedarim or hatarat shavuot.
Yiftach lo, it's to check what the
to open it up the neder. That's what yiftach lo, right? So he says, you could actually do, the chacham could do hatarat nedarim even for the shavua. Mishnah on the bottom of it says the Mishnah on the bottom of Kavchet Amud Aleph 2881 on the bottom. Hare netiot haelu korban im ena niktzatzot. Imagine a person comes and he sees a ruach se'ara. He sees a big, wind, a strong wind that's coming. He thinks that it's going to take down all the trees, right? Or, for example, somebody sees a fire in the city, so he thinks that everything's going to be destroyed. So he comes and he says, these netiot, right? So these saplings are going to be a korban if they don't come down. Right? He comes and he sees a hurricane coming, comes and says, you know what? These trees, these young trees, netiot or saplings, right? So young trees are going to be a korban if they don't come down. Meaning if they withstand the strong winds. Or this talit is going to be a korban if it's not going to get burnt. Yeah? So basically he comes and he sees something going to get burnt. And he comes and he says, you know what? It should be like this. Right? Now, it didn't get burnt. It didn't. Yeshlem pidyon. Right? What does that mean? There's going to be kedusha on the netiot and on the talit, and therefore you have to do a pidyon to take them out to chulin. You have to redeem them in order to take them out to become mundane again. Second case, hare netiot elu korban ad sheikatzetzu. Imagine a person comes and he says that these are going to be a korban until they actually get cut down, or this talit is going to be a korban ad shetisaref, until it gets burnt. Right? En lahem pidyon. Right? And here they don't have a pidyon. What's the difference? We're going to see obviously in the Gemara. Okay, basically, what's the difference between the 2 cases? That why is it that the the first case it helped Pidyon, second case it didn't help Pidyon. What was the difference? Says the Gemara on Kafchet Amubet 28b. Says the Gemara, Velitni Kedoshot. Right? Why didn't we just say that the Yikar of the Nidon is that it's Kadosh? Why do we have to come and say Pidyon or no Pidyon? We said, do they have a redemption or a redemption? Just say, is it holy or not? Does it become Kadosh or not? Why do you have to say, can you redeem, not redeem? Just tell me, is it holy or not? You made an edit, right? That it should become a korban or not. Say, does it have Hechal or not? So answers the Gemara, I did the Bailamit in Seifa. Since in the Seifa, we wanted to say the concept that En Lahem Pidyon, which means you cannot change, right? That's what he says. Right? Because for sure they're Kiddushot. Right? For sure, until they actually are cut down, for sure they're Kadosh. So you can't say that they're not Kadosh. So since in the Seifa, the latter part of the Mishnah, we use the terminology En Lahem Pidyon. In the first part also we use Yesh Lahem Pidyon, even though it's really Kadosh. You understand? Meaning that in the Seifa, we couldn't have used the terminology Enan Kedushot. Right? Because they are, until until they get cut down, they are. So you couldn't say Enan Kedushot. You had to say En Lahem Pidyon. So since already in the Seifa we're using En Lahem Pidyon, the Reish also use the Yesh Lahem Pidyon, even though it is Kadosh. You could have used the terminology of Kadosh. So says the Gemara, Hechal Nadar, what was the Neder exactly? How was the Neder Chal? So Amar Ameimar comes and he says, Be'omed, you're saying, Im ena niksatzot hayom, if they're not going to be cut down today, ve'avad hayom velo niksatzot, and it passed the day and you weren't kotzet, and therefore they're going to be kadosh. Because basically you just said that they're not going to be kadosh if you don't cut them down today. You added in the word today. So the fact that you added in the word today, not today, you didn't cut it down. So therefore they're going to be kadosh. So says the Gemara, if so, obviously saying if you say that it's going to be kadosh if you don't cut it down today, and you didn't cut it down today, pshita, then obviously, right, the t'nai was there. So says the Gemara, lo nitzicha, what are we dealing with? Kegon diika zika nefisha. You have a ruach sara gdola. Here we go to the hurricane, yeah? And now he suspects that they're going to be broken down. So now the chidush is that, right, the neder is going to be chal, just like he said, right? Vaktani legabe talit. You also thought about the talit also. The talit lisrefa kaima. So therefore you knew that this talit was going to become burnt. So why did you say now, right? Why is it that now the person is going to think that it's going to be burnt until he's being toled the neder? And, right, he says over here, but rather for sure, right, there's a fire. And you think that it's going to get burnt. Hachanami, so to here, you got a big hurricane. The sakadaita, so you would have thought to say, that a person would have said, you know what? For sure they're not going to be saved. So therefore you made a neder. But he didn't really be'emet want to make it holy, right? And now that they were saved, they're not going to be kadosh. Kamash Malan comes to teach you the Tana that you were gomer bedato lakdishan if they're going to be saved, and therefore it's going to be kadosh, which means like this. I would have thought the Havamina that you thought it was already gone, like there was nothing what to talk about. So you said if it's already going to be gone, you know what? You might as well make it ekdesh, right? Why? But you gave up hope. Yeah, for sure. They're going to be cut, ekdesh or whatever it is. Now all of a sudden they were saved. So I would have thought to say, that's what he's saying. Sal kadaita kamina, I would have thought to say that since they weren't going to be saved, that's why you made the neder. But if they were saved, so therefore it was a mistake. The neder was a mistake. Kamash Malan comes teach you no, that it's going to be kadosh, just like we mentioned. Okay? Fine. 2 dots. The 2 dots says, Haren etiyot elu korban. Person comes and he said, these trees are going to be a korban until they're going to cut them down. Uleolam, says the Gemara, can you actually tell me that they're never going to have a pidyon forever? What does that mean? So Amar Barpada comes and he says, Peda'an, right? What happened was that even though you came and you redeemed them, Chozrot v'kodshot, Peda'an, Chozrot v'kodshot, ad sheikatzetzu. Basically, what happens if you redeem them, but you still didn't cut them down? So again, it becomes holy. You redeem them again, but you still, again, it becomes holy, which means that until you actually cut them down, they will always stay holy. Because that's what you said. Right? That's what he says. En lahem pidyon, as long as they're there. So therefore, you come and you redeem them. I come and say, this is instead of that. That's still holy now. Why? Because you didn't cut it down. You said that they were going to be holy until you cut them down. As long as you don't cut them down, they're going to be holy. You could do 100 redemptions. At the end of the day, this is still holy. So he comes and he says, Parpada says, but once you actually did come and you cut them down, you only have to redeem it once, and that's it. The Ula Amar and Ula says, Once they were cut down, Shuvin and Podan, they don't need redemption anymore because the Kedusha was only until you cut them down. Once you cut them down, they're not holy anymore. So you don't even need a redemption. Okay? So says the Gemara,